Hey gamers, how was your weekend? Well, in front of me I have the Aqua 3DS, you know, the blue one. Personally, I'm not gonna lie, this system is pretty cool, with the 3D off or on. I know that's what you wanted to hear, so there you go. That being said, I think it's time we get this hardware review started. Keep in mind, this is my first ever. You can see that the big end went with a more glossy, shiny look to the system, which actually is pretty cool. I wanted to compare the size between the DSi and the 3DS, but K-Wife is still battling in Pokemon Black. So that's out of the question at the moment. Unless, of course, you want me to die trying to pry her system away from her. I hope you don't. The 3DS does have a lot of notable differences with its size, though. It's not really easy to place in your pockets, and you gals that carry around purses, you should be fine, but you boys might want to bring a book bag or something to school. It will fit in your pocket, it's just not very comfortable. I'm sure they're going to fix this later when they eventually release a 3DS Lite or something. The screen size isn't as big as the DSi XL, but I like the increased screen size, since I only had a DS Lite before this one and bought the DSi for K-Wife. The unit also weighs less than the XL itself, but if you're upgrading from a DS Lite like I was, then you're going to notice that the 3DS is a little bit heavier. As far as new additions, right above the gamepad is what looks like a little joystick. This circle pad is a welcome addition and it works very well from the games that I've actually used it with. So take notes, Sony, or rather steal the idea to use in your PSP 3D or something later. The system is compatible with both the DS and DSi games, although you'll need to hold the select and start buttons to reset the resolution. You'll also notice that there's a home button next to the start and select, and this is similar to the home system used on your Wii. Now I know some of you want to know about this, so I'm going to tell you about multiplayer if you're upgrading from a DS to the 3DS. You will still be able to play multiplayer with your friends locally and on Wi-Fi using the 3DS, with your DS and DSi games. Also, I don't know how you guys and gals feel about this, but the 3DS has been region locked. This was done because Nintendo added parental controls. However, they did make the regions easier to manage, and Europe is being defined as one region, which in the past it was broken up into many different categories, which made friend codes pain and all that other fun stuff. The system itself has 3 cameras, and 2 are in the front for the 3D aspect, and the other one is inside, which is above the screen itself. The 3D slider switches on and off the 3D, and the wireless actually uses a similar switch. So if you don't want the wireless or the 3D on, you can switch both off. Like with the Wii, the system does have an SD card slot too. The microphone is of course a standard and it's built in, and also I like the fact that there is a motion gyro system too. But you'll get more familiar with this because of the 2 pack-in games, Space Raiders and AR. But we'll look at the applications that come bundled with the system in tomorrow's video. Still, I have a few minor issues with the system's design itself. Let's start with the L and R button. For starters, they're way too small, and for games like Super Street Fighter 4, they're a pain to use. The stylus isn't in a key spot either, so it makes getting it out and putting it away bothersome. You may as well keep the stylus out or just use your finger. Finally, the 3D itself works for most of us. Now, I'm really glad that Nintendo added the 3D slider because I can't use the 3D. You want to know why? Well, it made me motion sick, a little. But I struggled with motion sickness from car rides when I was a kid, so this is nothing new for me. And it didn't make me throw up like the Virtual Boy when I was little. But I do have astigmatism in my eyes, so I'm more prone to the motion sickness and some other stuff when the 3D is on. When the 3D's off, though, I've been very impressed with the system's graphics. It goes from Wii to PS3 and all over the place. I'm amazed by it. I don't think I'll ever play my DS Lite ever again. K-Wife actually got to play using the 3D, and she loves it, especially for the Bust-A-Move game. Unfortunately, I think the biggest fault with the system is its battery life. Now, when you have the brightness at max and the system is fully charged, you're going to get about 5 hours, unless of course you turn off the 3D, then you'll probably get about 6 hours, but if the 3D's on, then you're only going to get about 3 hours. If you put the screen brightness on the lowest setting and turn off the 3D and the wireless setting though, you're going to get about 6 to 8 hours at maximum. This is a big cut from us DS Lite users that had a max of 17 to 19 hours at the lowest brightness setting. Personally, I'm not a fan of the charging base either. You can't play the system when it's in the cradle, but gamers can still plug into the back of the system and play. Though the charge takes much longer, and I have noticed the system feels a little bit too warm for my taste. One last thing to note about the 3D is Nintendo suggests that kids under 7 should not use the 3D at all. Also, if you use it for an hour, make sure you take a 10 to 15 minute break so your eyes can readjust to reality, and not augmented reality. Other than that, I would say I'm very pleased with the system, and it was definitely worth the price I paid for it. I wouldn't advise just buying the system with no game though, because while the features like making your Miis and taking pictures are fun, it gets old eventually. However, just seeing the expression on my family's face as we passed the system around today was priceless. Everyone seemed to find something that they enjoyed about this system. One last thing I wanted to address though, for those of you who own a DSi or DSi XL, once the internet service is open, there will be an ability to transfer your already bought WiiWare games onto your 3DS. Well, I think that wraps up my first ever hardware review. I hope you'll join me tomorrow evening for the current applications on the 3DS. Until tomorrow, gamers, thanks so much for taking the time to watch this review, and until we meet again, God bless and happy gaming.